Hello and welcome back to Atmosphere Electric. I'm Rich. There's Fran. How are you, dude?
I'm very well, thank you. You?
Yeah, good. Been a while. Been busy.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what's been going on. I think we've had a lot of work, haven't we? Here, there, and everywhere and stuff. But
Well, yeah, and
missed
stag
four.
do.
Missed four.
And
Oh yeah, I had stag do. I had a stag do. Yeah, absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know,
smashed up Hamburg. Missed
we
four
could.
game weeks. We have.
Is it?
Yeah. My last paper predictions is game week 11. So I suppose there's no point in even going over that.
I couldn't even remember what happened in Game Week 11, mate. Don't ask me. That feels like a million years ago. When was that?
I think the last time we did the Blackburn won the league. I think it was.
The good old days. Well, there has been a midweek round of fixtures this week, and historically that would have been on Prime. Uh, this week it was on Sky. Did you notice the difference? Did you care? I mean, I think everybody quite liked the Prime way of doing things, but obviously with Sky this week. So how did you feel? Any difference for you? None at all. Couldn't care less.
Uh, the broadcasting stuff is a topic in itself, isn't it? Really. I mean, you've got the Ashes on at the minute, and there's big debate about how TNT's presenting. I don't think it's that bad, if I'm being honest. I think it's a bit being blown out of proportion. But there's another one. Is it Paramount that the Champions League goes? So there's another one that's going to have to come along. So I mean, for me, it just needs to go to this Netflix style, as been spoken about before. We're at the situation where I don't really notice the broadcasters now because I'm pretty sure most people have got their sticks. You just flick on. You don't even know who's broadcasting anymore now. So I don't even notice it, if I'm being honest.
And I don't have one of them, and I do it legitimately, and I do notice. But yeah, I think that Prime do bring a nice. The only problem with Prime for me is that you get your notifications come through before it happens in the game, so it ruins it. But other than that, I think it's a bit of a shame that Sky do in a way that I can't quite get my head around this multi-view that they do on a Sunday and midweek as well. That's difficult. I feel like I miss everything again and think if I'm watching it.
I really struggle with all the games kicking off at the same time because I have TNT as my main package, and I get Sky through TNT, which then means you can't flick over the channels because you're not through Sky. So where you get Sky, is it Sky Sports Football Plus, and you can select the game. I can't do that, so I just get the game that's on.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I know something new every day. I foolishly pay for both properly, so I've got them both separately. So yeah, and obviously in that nearly a month, which team has impressed you the most? Who do you think has had the best kind of 3 or 4 weeks?
I think it's quite a difficult one to
Oh, okay.
say, really. Yeah, it's been so up and down, hasn't it? Really. I think one of the teams that have impressed me the least is possibly Bournemouth from where they were. They seem to be a team that when they're on a hot streak, very hard to beat score goals, and when they're off form are dreadful. I mean, we were talking about them being in the top four. They're 14th. I mean, the
Yeah.
points, but I know the league's really tight. You win one game, you jump 4, 5, 6 places, can't you? But the 14th, I couldn't believe it when I saw that the other day. I think the only team that I can say I've been really impressed with they continue to impress me is Sunderland. They keep churning out results. Newly promoted team. Just what they're doing is unbelievable. Unlucky not to beat Liverpool as well. I know everyone's beating Liverpool at the minute, but unlucky not to beat Liverpool. You had another 2 points on the fourth. Like what they're doing is phenomenal as a newly promoted team.
Yes, I agree. But for me, the team that needs the flowers is Aston Villa. I think they've had an unbelievable period of time. When you think about the start they had and where they are now, they're only, we're going to talk about them in a minute because obviously they host Arsenal tomorrow at 12:30. If they beat Arsenal, they're only 3 points behind them.
I think, yeah. So I agree. Villa have obviously shot up the table. Third, were playing well. I think the past few games they've got away with it. They've played a couple of teams which they should have expected to beat. But I know a few Villa fans, and I don't think they're playing well. So I mean, going on to the Arsenal, I really fancy Arsenal. I think they're a great price to beat Villa. I don't think Villa are firing, even though they've been picking up wins, which is absolutely the key. They are definitely a team to highlight that have picked up from where they were and have shot up the table, but I don't think they've been playing well.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I can't confess I haven't seen all of the games. I know that within that, Aston Villa have had some very good results against teams that you would think might have been a challenge, and you could argue it's a sign of a good team that not playing well and picking up results. You could argue that. And at the start of the season, nobody was talking about Aston Villa as being really even in the race for the top four. So for me, I'm not seeing Aston Villa currently as someone that we should be talking about for the championship. But for them to finish in the top four would be a huge result for them.
It'd be a massive result for them. Boost the finances, allows them to attract more players, further spend on FFP, all of those sorts of things. Villa from the previous seasons would have been spoken about in that sense, but obviously FFP has just hamstrung some of these teams like Villa, like Newcastle. They've done relatively well, haven't they? Some of the players that they've sold and brought in, they have managed to shuffle their squad. I did expect them to finish up there, not as high as this, but I do think it also highlights how weak the league is this season. When you look at some of the teams, like Newcastle as an example, 12th. They have underperformed, but they've got a good squad when you look at it. 12th, like there's a lot of teams in and around that league where you go, how are you there? Like you look at their squad on paper and go, it's not the best. And then and vice versa, you look at it and you go, you've got a good squad, and you like Liverpool on paper have got a good squad. 9th, like it's such a strange league this season.
Yeah, it's hard to get into, isn't it? There's no sort of player that's really kind of putting through massive numbers. Normally there's a Salah or I know, don't get me wrong, Haaland is obviously doing what Haaland does, but beyond him, there's nobody really kind of that I see kind of every week. I expect them to score. Like you say, anybody can beat anybody. Every week you're seeing unusual results. You look at, what Nottingham Forest have done. Terrible start. They've won 3 of their last 5. You look at, Leeds beating Chelsea, out of nowhere. Chelsea, people are starting to talk about them as being someone that could be in the mix to win the league. Like, it's just very difficult, isn't it, to get any kind of rhyme and reason out of this one.
Especially for us as a predominantly sort of gambling betting podcast, it's unbelievably tough. With the exception of Arsenal, who you can rely on most weeks, you can probably say. Everyone else, I look around and when I put other teams in a £5 challenge or as a banker, I don't know confidence. Probably tells you where I'm going with my banker of the week, by the way. But like I look at some of the games and I just go, because I mean that Leeds Chelsea game that you've just mentioned, that is the standout result for me of the past few game weeks. I thought Chelsea were going to absolutely pump them, and then I saw the team sheet and I thought, what on earth are they doing? They looked dreadful. Then I watched the game and I thought, what on earth is this Chelsea performance? And it just highlights, a team like Chelsea who, good performance against Arsenal the previous game week. The game weeks have looked really good. It just shows you how inconsistent the league is.
Yeah, I think it's the trouble is, and we all get like you talked about Bournemouth, we all get kind of carried away with a couple of good, and then you kind of start to get on the train, and then all of a sudden, like you say, they kick out a performance or they do a bit of rotation because there's 2 games in a week, and then you look behind it and you scratch the surface, and has Bournemouth's collapse happened around the time where Semenyo got injured, and since he's come back, he hasn't done what he's done. Like it just feels like the whole, and of course there's lots of rumour and noise about where he might be going in January. Has that affected? Like it's just very difficult to get any consistency out of any of them.
It's very difficult. Like I said, with the exception of Arsenal, who I think, it was the name of the last episode that we did. Arsenal are by far and away the best team. On the evidence that I've seen from the past 4 game weeks, I think that's been reinforced even more for me. I think they are miles clear of everyone else.
So let's dive into it, because obviously they do travel to Villa Park tomorrow, 12:30 kickoff. What Arsenal have done well in the window, which is now reaping rewards, is that they addressed squad issues, didn't they? They didn't necessarily buy players that were going to come into the first 11, but you look now at Saliba and Gabriel being out, they still have absolute quality to come in and cover that. Whether it's Odegaard that's missing, or whether Saka's not playing, or whether Trossard's doing some great bits for them as again what you'd call a squad player. Doesn't matter whether Martin is out there. Gyökeres hasn't really scored. It's not like he's coming and tearing the league apart, but they find ways. They score from different people, and their squad is just so strong, isn't it?
Especially, I watched the Arsenal game and I thought they were a little bit under par, if I'm being honest. Yeah. I thought Chelsea played quite well. Going down to 10, you'd expect Arsenal to have been really on top, and it was pretty end-to-end. The squad depth, though, I mean, Arsenal obviously had a couple of injuries, and in the game had a couple of injuries as well. I think Mosquera's just recently gone off. But then I was looking at the bench, and you've got Lewis Skelly, you can put Calafiori inside, you've got Timber, you've got Ben White, who looked like he'd not, he'd been playing every single week. I thought he was really good. And they've got other people on the bench, and I thought, wow, that's unbelievable. Like, they're actually in a bit of a crisis with injuries defensively, but they've still got another back four that they can put out, which on paper you'd probably go is one of the strongest, if not the strongest in the league. It's phenomenal what they've got there defensively, squad depth wise. I mean, I think you could still worry possibly about the attacking squad depth, but it's still not bad. Like, they massively rotated against Brentford, didn't they? And like you said, Saka was on the bench, and Gyökeres has been on the bench for 3 games, still scored goals.
Yeah, what they've done really well is, and this is what keeping the same manager has done for them, is that year one was obviously quite tough, and as they've gone through the years, they've got closer and closer. They've almost kind of made a note of where did we fail, what didn't we have, what didn't we do. Let's fix that for next year, and then they got a little bit closer, and they found somewhere else. Go right, what can we do to? And so they will say, because that's how it works, is that last year they didn't win the league because of injuries and absences. So they've gone out and they've addressed that massively, and so now that they are covered in the event of almost, because they've got the set pieces locked down, they're always going to be a threat. Even if they haven't got a goal scorer up front, they're always going to look dangerous from set pieces. They just find ways to win games, but they've got so much strength in depth that I just don't see anybody getting anywhere near them. I think they'll only pull further away as the season goes on.
Well, we've got 3 weeks until the January window. If Arsenal do what we think they should do and win all games or most of the games, all they're going to need to do is go again in January for 1 player, possibly 2, and that squad is going to be complete, isn't it? And if they can get another, because I saw Jesus was on the bench as well, so I mean they've got a little bit of depth there up front now as well, haven't they? I mean, if they can go and get 1 or 2 players, I think they only need 1 really. I'm being honest, they just need 1 player of real quality. You can ask me who or what position. I'd have to analyse it and have a good look. That's how strong the squad is. But if they can get 1 more extra player and boost that squad, I can't see anyone getting anywhere near them. I think it's a league win by at least 10 points.
For me, the answer to that question is a winger. I think, because I don't want Eze out there. I want Eze in the middle as the coverage. But for me, I think that is where they could. Martinelli, Trossard, they do bits, but they're not. They're not world class, are they? Do you know what I mean? They're just good, good professional football players. But for me, somebody out wide would be what I'd be looking for if I was Arsenal. Again, of course, the one that jumps off the page for me is Rafael out of AC Milan. I think if they could, and again, he could be gettable in January. That would be a game changing transfer, I think, for them as a club. I think that would make them almost Champions League favourites as well.
I'd be looking at Real Madrid as well. There's massive rumours around some of their players being unhappy, and Rodrigo's not even getting any minutes. They're trying to look at some of their players as well. I think you could possibly get one of them out of there.
And I've already said Aston Villa have really, really impressed me. I think I take your point about Arsenal are a bit of a machine, but at Villa, the last few years Arsenal have struggled there. They've definitely, although they've picked up some wins, it's been kind of last minute winners or comebacks, or and Villa have definitely got that kind of that pace and power to potentially go a little bit toe to toe. I do think it'd be interesting to see how Villa set up against them. But I've been really, really impressed with Aston Villa. I think when we're talking about top 4 contenders right here, right now, they would be one of my 4 choices for that top 4.
Again, from a squad perspective, they haven't got the depth. But I mean, that 11, when they put their full 11 out, is a very, very good side, isn't it? Again, coming up to January, if they could just add a couple of players to that squad to ensure that they've got that depth. So if somebody like a Watkins or McGinn, I think John McGinn for me has been the standout. Just his energy in midfield, he's looked creative. He's always combative as well, isn't he? But they need a replacement because he's obviously getting on a little bit as well. They need to get somebody in midfield who can replicate that, because someone like Tielemans, who's great on the ball, doesn't have the legs that McGinn does. So I think go again in January and try and get a John McGinn version 2. And I think they can really have a good go at top 4. But I mean, this game for me, I think it's a great game. I really like this game. Is it an early kickoff?
Yeah, 12:30.
Early kickoff, yeah, lovely. Love that. Get that on the telly, watch that early doors. Game of the game week, I think. But for me, I just think Arsenal have got too much.
So you think the score will be?
I've gone Aston Villa 1, Arsenal 2.
You've gone for a goal for Villa.
Yeah,
I feel
only if Arsenal had their first choice back 4, I would have gone either 1-0, 2-0. But I think Villa have been scoring goals. I think they can definitely nick one, possibly even score first.
So, just to be completely left field, I'm going to go 2-3.
Goals.
Let's Let's go big. Let's go big. Let's do it. I do think Arsenal will have too much, but hopefully it's not a 1-0. Hopefully it's a 2-3. That'd be a great way to start the game week. Loads of 3 o'clock kickoffs this week, which is a little bit unusual, and some big names in here. You've got Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, Spurs, all kicking off at 3 o'clock on Saturday. So if you have got one of those sticks that you mentioned earlier, then you're okay. But otherwise, it's going to be a bit of a barren weekend. But we start with Bournemouth hosting Chelsea. Bournemouth, as you've already alluded to, in free fall. Chelsea inconsistent, but for me, this is almost a perfect sort of fixture for Chelsea, and I see them bouncing back from that defeat against Leeds, putting out a full strength team and nicking the 3 points here.
I think that's the key for me. Is even though they did lose against Leeds, he rested a lot of players, didn't he? Cole Palmer came in and got a few minutes, so I'd fully expect him to start as well. I think he'll put his full 11 out, and I can see them actually tearing Bournemouth to bits. So I've gone Bournemouth 1, Chelsea 3. Like you said, Bournemouth are in free fall, and I think Chelsea, being stung like they did against Leeds, are probably one of the worst teams you want coming to your ground.
Don't you think Chelsea are like a really unusual squad? Like, obviously they're very young. We keep hearing about how young is average age, all that kind of good stuff, which is great. And of course, if they keep the players for long enough, they develop, it could be a fantastic business model. But I think we all know that probably won't happen, because they'll all get sort of cherry picked and sold on as and when needed. I look at that Chelsea and I think defensively, that back four does not look like a back four that you'd want to be going into any kind of major game with.
That back four that started against Leeds, when I saw it, because I had a bet on Chelsea, I really fancied them. Had Chelsea shots and corners. Saw the 11 that went out, and I went, "Oh dear!" Like, that back four looked awful. It was dreadful. Did they have someone like Adebayor right back or something? And I was like, "Oh my god!" I mean, going back to the Chelsea Arsenal game, I thought Reece James was the best player on the pitch by an absolute country mile. He was phenomenal. It looks like he's really growing into that inverted fullback sort of midfield role. Without him in the team, they look so vulnerable. But I expect that back four. I mean, Fofana's been playing well as well. He's obviously being looked after because he's made of paper mache, isn't he? Bless him. But that back four that went out was horrendous. I mean, if I see that against Bournemouth, even though Bournemouth are in free fall, I'd look at that and go, "I don't like this at all." I mean, if the 11 goes out, I think it's a almost bank material win. But if he rotates it and keeps some of the players that started, don't like it.
Yeah, obviously they tried to get rid of Badishile, didn't they? Obviously Tosin came in on free. Trevor Chalobah's not a right back. Andre Santos doesn't strike me as being, like you say, you put Gusto back there, you put Reece James in midfield, you get Pedro Neto back again. We all forget the impact of having forward players has on defenders. We all look at defenders as having to be defenders, but actually, if you can keep the ball up the other end of the pitch, you don't need the defenders as much. And Pedro Neto always keeps.
Can we speak about Jamie Gittins as well, by the way?
Yeah, please do, yeah.
What is he? He looks like a competition winner. How some of these players coming from... Is the Bundesliga that weak that some of these players come from the Bundesliga with reputations that are sky high, and then when you watch them, like I've watched Jamie Gittins a few times now, he looks... I was going to say something there. He looks awful.
Yeah. He had one game, didn't he? I can't remember who it was against, but he had one game where even the Chelsea fans in my kind of network were like, "Yeah, no, okay, that was a performance." But you look at what they've spent in that position. You look at Pedro Neto, for me was a fantastic Premier League winger that they've kind of feels like they've blunted him a little bit. You look at Garnacho, you look at the Mike Gittins, you look at the Madawaki that they're just
he's so average.
For me, not for me. So but what they're doing with these, like the fact that I don't actually think much of the squad, where they are and what they've done this season is actually quite impressive.
Maresca's a strange one, isn't it? Because he can go and absolutely tactically outclass Barcelona, then go and play against a rampant Arsenal team and put in such a good performance, and then Leeds come to town and he looks like he hasn't got a clue what he's doing. And you just go... And again, I think it's just highlights the consistency of the league, doesn't it? But they're such a strange team. They're one of the strangest teams in the league for me, because they can be sublime to dog awful.
Yeah, and obviously Bournemouth need a bounce back as well. But so you've gone 1-3 and I've gone 1-2. I think Chelsea will win as well. But again, if Bournemouth get back to that pre-season form, they could absolutely go and get the 3 points, no problem at all. We moved to the Sean Dyche derby. Everton host Nottingham Forest.
Didn't clock that.
This is going to be a little bit like that Spider-Man meme in the dugout where you kind of go David Moyes and Sean Dyche. Firstly, let's just say that Sean Dyche has just properly steadied that ship, hasn't he, Nottingham Forest? The noise has died down and they're starting to get...
I'd like to say something about Sean Dyche because he's been linked to a lot of teams since he went to Everton, and all you ever hear is negativity from the fans. I think with some clubs you've got to realise where you are, but also I think Dyche gets a bit of unfair stick, being a long ball merchant at Burnley. What do you expect with Burnley's resources? Like, he's not going to play pretty football with Ashley Barnes, is he? Like, of course they're going to play to their strengths. And I think, as you've seen him say go to Everton, they played a bit more football with Everton because he's got a higher quality player. And I think you can see this with Forest. Yes, they're still direct, but direct also wins games of football.
Listen, I'm actually trying out for some different types of football to be played because I'm getting absolutely bored senseless with the same teams playing the same way. So I want to go back to the days where you had to play Stoke on a Tuesday night and you knew what was coming. Burnley, as an example, like you need that variation to make football a bit more interesting again.
Yeah. I mean, one of the clubs that I saw fans outcry when he got linked was Leicester. I mean, Leicester are looking like they're going to go into League One. They were absolutely not having Sean Dyche. How out of touch can you be? Like, it's just ridiculous. He's a very good manager at Premier League level. He gets results. He's exactly what Forest needed, if we're being honest, isn't he? He's come in there, settled everyone down. I didn't realise how much of a Forest lad he actually is as well. I think that obviously helps. So, great appointment, and I don't think Forest are in any danger of going down now. The only way is up for them.
So yeah, absolutely, yeah, completely. Yeah, no, we can remove them from the conversation. But again, we just talked about Everton currently in 10th, 2 points, 3 points off of 4th. The job that he's done there, David Moyes is, of course, not Sean Dyche, is fantastic. And they'll be looking at the European places, and they'll see this as a game that they should be winning at home.
Again, what a strange team Everton are. They play some teams who you just go, I'll beat them, and then let's say the other week, who did beat last week? Was it Brentford? Was it Brentford? Someone beat someone 1-0, didn't they? Which I didn't actually expect. I looked at it and went, "Oh,
Man United with 10 men."
Yeah. So they beat United, but was it yesterday or the day before? Let's have a quick check. 1 second, call up. It was Bournemouth. I know Bournemouth are in 3-4, but away from home at Bournemouth, I was thinking, that's a tight game. And they go and get a 1-0 win. You go, what a great result that is for them. So yeah, I mean, very strange team. Still very heavily reliant on Grealish, I feel. I don't think Grealish is proving to be quite the player he was when he was at Villa. He's obviously got older, hasn't he? But they're still a decent team, well coached. That's the main thing, isn't it? He's come in and just changed the feel of that club completely.
Yeah, it feels to me like that they are still a prolific centre forward away from being what they could be. I think Dewsbury Hall has impressed me actually more so than Grealish this season. I think that the goal he scored the other day in the heavy defeat, I thought plucked it out of the air. I thought was a very, very good finish.
I think just what Dewsbury Hall offers teams is work rate as well. He's always committed, and his fans, probably not top 4 clubs, but as fans of general Premier League clubs or lower clubs, all you ever want from your players is to see effort and determination, running, and he epitomises that. And I think he just gives people a boost around him with his work rate and his attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. I will give a slight criticism to the Everton community. I was very disappointed of how quickly that stadium emptied against Newcastle. I know that they were having a tough day, but I thought that was half full very, very quickly. I think they gave up a little bit too early for me personally.
There's quite a few teams that are doing that at the minute, aren't they? Two goals down, especially. I can understand some teams if you're getting battered most weeks, you just go, I don't want to watch this. But Everton are doing well, and they're not normally that fan base, are they?
No.
Excuse me.
Yeah, don't worry, I got one of them myself. So Everton host Nottingham Forest. You are going for
I'm going for 1-1.
That's exactly what I have. That's exactly what I have now. If you'd have said to me 3 months ago, we'd be calling Manchester City at home to Sunderland a tough game, not know which way it's going to go and could see any of the 3 results, I would have laughed in your face. But that's where we are. You've already given Sunderland some flowers, absolutely right as well. They've been fantastic, and they're giving it a real go, both in terms of they did that in the transfer market, but they're doing it every week. Aren't they? They turn up almost as a free hit, going, now we've got some points on the board. We can go and attack Liverpool at Anfield, which wouldn't have happened. Obviously, they were on 8 or 7 points. So this is a really difficult game for Manchester City now, isn't it?
It is. And if I said to you that Sunderland are 10-1 and you put them in a freeze, I'd quite fancy that.
They're not 10-1, that's for sure, are they? That's crazy.
No, they are. They're 10-1.
No, sorry. I'm saying they shouldn't be. As in,
Yeah.
I get that they are, but they definitely shouldn't be.
Yeah. In a freeze, I mean, Man City are so up and down. Again, some games, I mean, Liverpool are poor, but they absolutely dismantled Liverpool, didn't they? It was embarrassing how good City looked. And then they go and play some teams. City, like they played Dortmund, didn't they? In the
lots of changes,
Leverkusen got absolutely pumped. They look dreadful at times. So I mean, at 2-9, I don't see how you could put Man City in an accumulator or even rely on them. I think you'd be mad to even touch them in most games this season. They're so up and down. Nice to see Phil Foden coming back to form, though.
Yeah.
England need that as well, and he does look very good at the minute as well. So great to see him hit a bit of form.
Agreed. Yeah. Again, I was actually thinking not that long ago that Man City would go on and win even the Fulham game midweek. You go 5-1 up, and even that you kind of go in old days that ends up being 7-1, not 5-4. Crazy. Let's be honest, it's not like Fulham are. They've had some good results, but they're not exactly firing on all cylinders. Obviously, they applied a bit of pressure, but so yeah. Again, another reason why Arsenal are just such clear favourites is Man City's inability to just finish off teams.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the way that Sunderland are playing, very resolute, defensively, they don't concede many goals. I don't think they're quite come into the league and they've started blitzing it with goals, have they? But they're picking up points, and 10-1 over a 2-9 shot, I know where I'd be putting my money for value.
So, for value, I agree. But for this, where are you putting your money? What's the score going to be?
So I've gone Man City 2, Sunderland 1, but I think Sunderland will score first.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if that's a comeback and late in the day. I think Sunderland have got a bit of a free hit, so I can see them trying to attack Manchester City, whereas that's kind of the teams that Manchester City do best against. They struggle more with that kind of unpicking of a team. But again, Sunderland might go with a different game plan, of course, because they might be taking themselves as European contenders now and go and try and get a point, for example, which they look like doing this season. They look like they've sort of gone all out on every game.
Yeah. Man City need to win, don't they, if we're being honest? They've got to hope to be in this title. They've got to hope that Villa takes something from Arsenal, and they've got to go and win the home game against Sunderland.
I mean, calling it early, I don't think Manchester City can drop another. I think they could possibly get away with one more defeat until the end of the season, but the rest of it, because already 5 points behind Arsenal. If Arsenal win, Man City lose, I think it's done. I don't see him catching it. For me, this is a very different Arsenal, and it's a very different Man City both ways. So Arsenal got better, Man City got worse.
I'd agree with that statement, but I don't think Arsenal have got that much better. I think their squad is just a bit deeper.
Yeah.
And I think the rest of the teams have got considerably worse, which has just meant the gap has extended, as opposed to sort of both of them going that way. I think.
Absolutely. No, completely agree. But that's enough, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Arsenal fans. Arsenal are a strange one, though. You hear the fans moaning about style of football. You look nailed on to win a league.
Is that not just football fans, mate? Genuinely, you'll find something to be unhappy about. It might be that they'll look at their transfer spending. There'll be something. There's always something.
I'll take my team not being 3-0 down after 10 minutes, let alone winning the league.
Don't disagree, mate. Don't disagree. But again, like I say, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd just be looking to get that trophy in the bank, because then that stops every other fan base coming back at you talking about being trophyless for as long as you've been trophyless. Try and build a dynasty off it while other teams are struggling. Try and build a dynasty and go again to try and be maybe the next 5-10 years the big team, because they've got the financial clout to do it. They've got the stadiums to do it. They've got the location to do it. They've got the gumption to do it. That's the question. Another team that could have done that but can't for a couple of reasons is Newcastle United. When we talk about teams that are up and down, round and round, curly whirly, touch the ground, no returns, Newcastle United are right at the top of this list for me. Hosting Burnley. Now, this should be a home banker?
I think it's a comfortable 2-0 win. I agree that it's a home banker. I mean, as up and down as Newcastle are, I think they'll have too much for Burnley. However, at 1-4, steer well away from that. That's 1-4 suggests that is banker material. It's not. They're so up and down. Stay clear of 1-4.
They have been a bit more up at home, in fairness. So they are very much a toss of a coin: home win, away defeat. I know they put that right against Everton. Obviously, I think everybody would have thought they would beat Spurs comfortably midweek, and obviously that didn't come to fruition. But Burnley just don't seem to be that. There was a period of time when they were scoring first and giving teams a bloody nose and being in the mix. It just feels like a very long time since Burnley have been on the front foot and scoring first and being ahead in the game.
The bottom of the table seems to be shaping up now and almost giving you a picture, doesn't it? Wolves have been gone for ages. They're in huge danger of beating the points record. Burnley seem to be going the same way. They're only 4 points off Leeds, 2 points off West Ham. But I don't get any encouragement from them that they're going to go and win a game. Like, I feel they could pick up a few draws here and there, defensively sound, and so they don't very often get whooped. But I just can't see where they're going to win enough games.
I think we could very quickly find that this is a 2-horse race as to who goes down between Leeds and West Ham. I thought before Fulham's little burst of 3 wins in 5, I thought they might be in the mix. Of course, Bournemouth, I think they're safe, so let's not do that yet. But I think the next 4 the next 4 weeks over Christmas, whoever does the best out of West Ham or Leeds, that's the team that will stay up. I think Burnley and Wolves are done, mate.
Well, until Leeds beat Chelsea, I was convinced it was Wolves, Burnley, Leeds. I thought Leeds looked like a team that were just on the down. Great performance against Chelsea, and that's got to lift them, haven't they? And take them into January, where that Red Bull network should kick in. They should have a chance, and I agree. I think it could very well be between West Ham and Leeds. And I know Fulham have picked up a little bit. They've had some very kind games, but I think unless they go again in January, they could be in it.
Definitely could. Yeah, definitely could. But you said it, not me. Any Fulham fans that want to kick off the Frank, not me. I'm trying to get back in the good books. So home banker, I'm going Newcastle 3, Burnley 0. You're going
2-0.
2-0. We had the Sean Dyche derby earlier. We've got the Thomas Frank derby. The only reason why this game is even remotely interesting is because Thomas Frank was at Brentford. And I suppose, let me just ask you that question. Right now, whose stock is higher, Thomas Frank or Keith Andrews?
It's got to be Thomas Frank, isn't it?
Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm talking about right now. I'm not talking about.
So let's just say Thomas Frank gets sacked at Spurs. Do you think he doesn't get another job?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about right here, but as we sit here right now.
If both of them were sacked, who's getting a job first?
But that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is that in terms of where they were and the noise about Thomas Frank and the noise on the other side of that coin of how, oh God, Keith Andrews, like the job that both of them have done, Keith Andrews is absolutely overperforming by 100% and Thomas Frank is underperforming by exactly the same.
I'd still say Frank's stock is higher, but from where they've come from, it's a lot more. I still think the job that Frank did at Brentford is going to hold him in good stead for years. I mean, I personally think, you're a bit closer to Spurs than me, there's a bit more context to the Spurs performances. They're without half of the forward line. Like, he's very limited to what he can do. Yes, I understand, like, the midfield 3 that he keeps picking haven't got an attacking bone in their body between them. I don't know who bought Xavi Simons. He's a competition winner. Like, there's a lot of hole still in that squad. Like, there's a reason that squad under Ange finished where it did. Like I said, there's a reason for it. So, I mean, it was only a few game weeks ago. Spurs were 3rd. Now, you can say that he didn't perform well, but he's dealing with the hand that he's got. So I still think he's got a lot of credit in the bank. I understand the football's been turgid. Is it something like 4 or 5 games where Spurs haven't had a shot in target in the first half? Like, it has been dreadful to watch, and I get that. But he's brand new into that role. It's going to take a bit of bedding in. I just think he does need a bit of time. But I do understand watching football when it's that bad, no shots on target in 5 first halves, I think it is. Like, I get it.
It doesn't help that they've had to play Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, and of course PSG in the Champions League as well, which ironically was probably their best performance.
Played quite well, yeah.
Then you lose to Fulham at home, and then you go and get
that was the kicker, the Fulham one.
100%, and the manner of it as well, to be 2-0 down inside 6 minutes, the way the goals were conceded, and to not really look like coming back into the game. Now they definitely needed something out of Newcastle away, which nobody thought would happen. But if ever there was a must-win game for a manager, it's right here, right now for Thomas Frank. Because if they lose to Brentford at home, that is going to sting the Spurs fans more than I think any other. I think they'd rather lose to Arsenal at home than Brentford at home right now because of who's been where and what's happened.
Yeah. It's a very tough one to call because, I mean, Brentford recently have been up and down as well, aren't they? And, some of their performances have been great. I fancy Brentford to score more than, I mean, apart from Zlatan Romero with his overhead kicks, Spurs have looked pretty toothless, haven't they? Like the goal they scored against Arsenal. Was it Arsenal with Richarlison's?
Yeah,
it was, wasn't it? I mean, that was from the halfway line, really, wasn't it? Like XG of probably 0.02, whatever it is. Like, Spurs haven't really created. They've looked pretty flimsy up front. So, I mean, you look at that and go, again, on the freeze, let's just have a check of what Brentford are. Oh, they're only 2-1. I thought they'd be a bit bigger than that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are some interesting numbers out there, isn't there? You could do a Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool triple, which is 6-1. But yeah, so how do you see this one going? What you got? Tottenham hosting Brentford at 3 p.m. at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Well, I think this is really tough. I'm going to go Spurs 1, Brentford 2. With no confidence whatsoever.
This could be anything. I've gone 1-1.
It could be absolutely anything.
I mean, I could see Brentford going 3-0 up, because Brentford have not given Spurs a few bloody notices at the stadium in the past. Brian Mbeumo was almost assured to score at some point. Yeah, like I said, probably. I just hope for my Spurs fans, I just hope that actually there's a good game with some goals, because I think what got Ange through these difficult times was at least the games were still entertaining.
Yeah. If it is Spurs 1, Brentford 2, what happens to Thomas Frank?
So my understanding is that he is safe for now, but they are not. The powers that be are not happy with what's going on.
Do you think he gets to January and gets the window?
Listen, man, that depends on. That depends on. So they've got Brentford. They go to Nottingham Forest, which isn't an easy place to go anymore. Then they host Liverpool. I'm just quickly pressing buttons to see where we get to. Then they go to Palace. I don't see them beating Palace. So that's between. There is a real chance that they get to January the 1st, where they play Brentford again without picking up any points between now and then, and we'd then be talking about them being in a relegation battle.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, we mentioned the squad. Get a couple of those, but get Kulusevski back, and I think the picture going forward changes massively for him.
But the problem is that he came out this week and said that he's not sure when he's coming. So again, there was lots of positivity about Kulusevski coming back in November. Obviously, that's been and gone. Coming back this time of year is not easy, is it? When you look at all the fixtures and the amount of fixtures, but Solanke, Maddison, and Kulusevski coming back would revolutionise the team.
Yes, forward. I mean, I thought Kolo Muani was a decent sign, and he's not had much of an opportunity, but he's not took it when he's had an opportunity either, has he?
So the biggest thing I'm hearing from Spurs fans is that Thomas Frank seems to play players endlessly when they're not in form, and then as soon as they hit form, he drops them. And that's the worry, is that, like, so for example, Odebear started really poorly, started to look like he was getting a grip with it, and then he gets yanked out. Xavi Simons, I agree with you, by the way, not a Premier League player. Don't know what they were thinking, but he had his best game, and in the next game he's benched, and it's like, there doesn't seem to be a logic as to what you're doing with the players, which is worrying Spurs fans. But like I say, for the time being, he's not in danger, and I would see him as being. I think Daniel Farker is still higher up the food chain in terms of next manager to go if things turn for Leeds, because they'll pull the trigger before January. But Thomas Frank will be second on my list if he's not careful. And those fixtures, of run of fixtures coming up, I could genuinely see Spurs going to January without picking up another win, and that would be disastrous. and because you've got Brentford to win, I've got a draw, so we're both saying that. We then move to Leeds. This is a very different game now. Obviously at Leeds, 5:30, under the lights, fans on board, hosting Liverpool, who are shaky at best.
Could be anything. Could be anything. So I was fully in the camp of Chelsea beating Leeds, and Leeds played really well. Chelsea were poor. Liverpool, I do think he's starting to get to grips a little bit with what's going on by benching people like a Salah and stuff. So I think the performances are gradually getting better. I feel that though they will beat Liverpool Liverpool will beat Leeds quite comfortably, and I think the score will be Leeds 1, Liverpool 3. One person to highlight though, and I don't know if you've seen Craig Burley going off on Virgil van Dijk. I agree with him entirely. He is getting away with his performances massively. For me, he's been the standout performer in a negative way, and people like Kanate, he's been poor. Lots of them have been poor, but Kirkes has got stick. He's a new player trying to settle in. Verts, I think, has played quite well. He looks decent, neat and tidy on the ball. He's just not had any in product. Virgil van Dijk has stunk the place out. He's been turning his back on shots. He always refuses to close players down for this dribbling record that he's got against him. Like, no wonder he hasn't. He doesn't press anyone. I think he's been dreadful. I think he's one of the most overrated players, defenders. He's in the conversation of greatest ever. There's nowhere near people like John Terry for me. I think he's been one of the main catalysts for why Liverpool have been terrible defensively.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't watched enough Liverpool for me to be as all in on that as you are. I think this is personally. I think Liverpool is a collective problem. I think it's across the board. I think it's like a 1,000 cuts that's the problem rather than one big wound.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I just think it's a slightly bigger cut at the minute than others.
But so again, it goes back to that point of if you haven't got the attacking. So when you've got Mo Salah firing, right, you give Mo Salah the ball and he keeps the ball up that end of the pitch for 2 minutes, 90 seconds, right? In terms of attacking actions, and there's a shot, there's a corner, there's a goal kick, there's a rebound, and you give the ball back, and so that's 90 seconds where you've got to recover and get your resting position sorted. And then on the other side you had Diaz, and then you got I know Nunes was a bit of a crazy man, but he was causing havoc, and it was the ball was always
stretch the defence, wasn't it?
And you got your midfield set up properly, so that means that then the ball very rarely got to the Liverpool backline. If we're being honest, for most of the last couple, Van Dijk had a cigar out and he was just, I'll win that header, back up that end of the pitch, it stays up there for ages. I can run down this channel, get the ball, pass it out. Liverpool aren't controlling a game anymore. They're not. They don't have the ball for anywhere near as long as they used to and do as much with it. And so actually, it's just that teams are not, for me, they're not scared of Liverpool anymore. Like when you used to play Liverpool, even 12 months ago, not winning that game, we're up against it. Now everyone's going, hold on a minute, we've got Liverpool, we can win that game.
Do you know what I think one of the biggest things for me is, and I think you bang on with everything you've said there, but when Liverpool were good, there was a lot of occasions where Van Dijk was left at the back by himself. But in those situations, he looked calm, he was composed, he'd get a foot in, he'd jockey to show him down the line, and he was an unbelievable defender. But then when I try and hear the comparison of him being the best ever Premier League defender and all of that, if I compare him to John Terry, the difference is when Chelsea were going through sticky situations, John Terry would be at the back, barking at his defence, you come here, and he would demand that back line be flat, be compact, and no one would get by it, even when they were struggling. Like they were always as a unit. Van Dijk is the captain of that team, is the mainstay of that team, and is the leader. Like you could hear John Terry on the telly a lot of the times. You can't hear Van Dijk. He's berating them. He's throwing his arms up. I think if you've got Kirkes next to you, who's a new sign, he's a young lad, tell him, demand him where you want him to be. Demand that ball when you're struggling. For me, he's been dreadful.
But not disagreeing with anything, but it's so difficult to do that because when you think of John Terry, right? For me, I don't just think of John Terry. I think about even Ivanovic, right? One of the best defensive right backs that you had Ashley Cole on the other side, like he always was next to a Carvalho or a TAIE or that whole squad was built to defend for their lives with their lives and score on the break. So again, I just think that we just got to be careful of but this is the Liverpool fans that have created this because actually Liverpool fans are the ones that are going, Virgil van Dijk is one of no one else is saying it. But just let them have their mind. It's nonsense and it's irrelevant because we can't compare like for like. Because if you put John Terry in this Liverpool team, currently right now, I think he'd freaking struggle.
Do you? I don't think he would. I think he'd
But
recognise.
he hasn't got the pace. He wasn't known for his rapid. Like the
No, but I
space he'd
think
have to
he'd
cover.
recognise that if your team's under the cosh, you pull your fullbacks in and you say to them, for 5 minutes, that game against Brentford, Brentford absolutely tore them apart, tore them a new one.
Yep.
And all you saw was the Liverpool fullbacks high and wide up the pitch. And you go, why are you leaving yourself exposed to be run down the line? I think John Terry would have been sensible enough to just go pull in here for 5 minutes, sit in. They got control of the game and off they'd have gone through the middle of the park.
Yeah, it's impossible. We can only expect. But for me, I think the game is slightly different now. Like I say, John Terry and others, by the way, were playing in a team that was, that Chelsea team that conceded whatever it was, 11 goals, 14 goals for the whole season, was set up to be a defensive machine. You had Makaleli, Kante, whoever it was in front. Like it was just a machine. But I do get the point that the glazing of Virgil van Dijk is starting to be undone, and it's being proven that he's maybe not the player that some people think he is. But for me, I just think that Liverpool are in all kinds of trouble. I also look at you look at Isak and Ekitike, these two players that are supposed to come in and be like, just
the Isak Ekitike debate's quite weird because I think from what I've seen, I think I like Ekitike more. And I think he's probably a better fit for the Liverpool team. But you can't sign somebody for 100 million or whatever he was and keep him on the bench. So therefore he's starting. I know he scored his first goal the other week, but I think Ekitike has looked one of the signings of, as poor as Liverpool have been, one of the signings of the season so far. I think he's looked that good. And to have him benched is, having him on the bench, when I see him on the bench, I just go, how can you have someone like that on the bench?
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think Liverpool are a very unique. I think since they won the league so early and they did the Ibiza and the whatever's, whether that was a moment, and look, they've had some trauma behind the scenes as well, which takes time to heal. Maybe it's the perfect storm of how do you cope with that? How do you cope with winning the league so early and dial off and switch off? And there was, of course, Trent leaving and the contract for. Okay, it's been a very unusual season, but there's lots of Liverpool fans that want Slot gone immediately. And if they lose at the weekend to Leeds, then I think that would only escalate that, obviously. So, but neither of us think that's going to happen. So you say 1-3 or 3-0?
I've gone 1-3.
I've gone 1-2.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool will just have enough.
Yeah, I don't say Liverpool with confidence. Like I said, I did a few weeks ago, so I'm not putting them in again. But I just look at the Leeds team, and I do think the Chelsea result flattered them.
Listen, I need
3 points. Before that, I think they've been dreadful.
I need everybody to be clear that I don't think either of us are particularly confident on any of these results right now. Literally all of these things we've said could be complete. We could get 0 out of 10 here, and it wouldn't surprise me.
It is quite a tough game week, isn't it? There's a lot of games where we've gone, could be anything.
I think there's only one that we haven't come to yet that probably is the one that would have to say has to be an away win and an away banker, and that has to be the only one we're guaranteed in terms of the Wolverhampton game. Because the it has to be because the Wolves haven't won in so long. Has to be.
Yeah. Shite.
But we're not there yet. Don't jump ahead of yourselves. Brighton host West Ham on Sunday. Now, for me, these are very interesting games on Sunday. In Brighton hosting West Ham and Fulham versus Palace. Missing what you would call some of the bigger guns, but it's going to be interesting to see some different games, some different teams. Brighton hosting West Ham, who are in that relegation battle still. I think this goes against them. So I think at the end of the game week, West Ham are still in the bottom three, which adds pressure. But so I think this is a home win because I think Brighton have just got too much going forward.
I am very reluctant to always pick Brighton because I always seem to get them when I say, Brighton will win, and they end up getting spanked 3-0 or whatever it is. West Ham have picked up to me. I think, Nuno coming in, he's given them, they look a lot more solid at the back, and they seem to have a bit more of an idea going forward. Like they've had Wilson and Bowen playing side by side as a two, which you don't see very often. Like that against United, and I think that they cause a bit of threat. I think it also allows Wan-Bissaka, as an example, to bomb down the sides, give them space, which I think he's very good at. I think I agree with you though. Brighton will have too much here. Brighton have been sneaking under the radar for me, picking up wins. I think they would be very disappointed with their result against Villa as well. They're scoring goals and losing. I think 2-0 Brighton for me. I would go.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, except I think that there might be a couple more goals in this because like you said, Brighton do give away goals as well. Let me get the evidence first before I say something really stupid. But they feel to me like they're a team that have kind of involved in the games with the most amount of goals. There you go, 24 for 20 against, so they're right up there in terms of 44 goals over their games. Having said that, of course, West Ham conceded a lot of goals. They've conceded 28 in 14, so they're going at 2 a game. So the maths tell me this will be 2-1 Brighton. But I think my head tells me it's going to be 3-1 Brighton.
You're going 3-1.
Yeah. Although if I was looking statistically based on all of that, I would be looking at 2-1 to Brighton. If I was looking for a score, but my gut tells me 3-1. I just think that West Ham will be cut open by Brighton, and Brighton just keep going. They've got some good attacking players.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Brighton probably have a bit too much cutting edge for them.
And we move to Fulham Crystal Palace again, a really interesting London derby, a really interesting stylistics. Obviously, Fulham making that great comeback, and had the goal, a shot cleared off the line to make it 5-5. Crystal Palace quietly going about their business. Palace have, I think, when you look at what they've done with having lost Elise and Eze in the last couple of seasons to be where they are, I think is truly, truly phenomenal. Win on Sunday and they could be back in the top 4, but they're in the mix at 23 points. We'll talk about Sunderland having an amazing season. No one really thinks about Crystal Palace being on the same amount of points as having a great season, but they are. For me, this is a comfortable away win. Actually, I think Crystal Palace will have too much for Fulham, and I think that this will be an away win.
I agree entirely. They're not my banker because I think it's a bit more dodgy, but they would.
Sure.
They'd be my next pick, though. I would reckon. I really like Palace here. I do think Fulham are a pretty poor team, and obviously scoring 4 against Manchester City, I think flatters that game. I don't know if you watched any of it.
Yeah.
They just don't. Again, it's a very odd statement to make. They don't look like scoring goals. I know they scored 4, but in general, when I've watched Fulham, they keep the ball well. They're neat and tidy. I like the 2 centre halves they've got, Anderson and Bassi, but they just don't look to have that creative spark, which they did have a few years ago. I think it has gone a little bit stale there. So for me, this is a comfortable Palace win. So I've gone Fulham 0, Palace 2.
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember Fulham, out of the last 5, beat Wolves, you'd expect. Beat Sunderland, surprise. Beat Tottenham away, surprise. So, actually, when you look at the points they've got, 9 points they've got in the last 5 games. 6 of those are kind of what I would call bonus points, if that makes sense, as in points that we didn't expect them to win. You take those 6 points off of Fulham, they're on 11 points and they're in the bottom 3. You can't do that, of course, because they've got the points. So I get that this is hanging on a thread. I think Fulham are overperforming currently. I think that 9 points from 15 is very impressive and puts them in a good spot. Having said that, I think Crystal Palace are just further down the line. I think they've just got the hang of the system. I think they are just a very, very good team, and I think this will be an away win. And I've gone for 2-0 Palace.
Yeah, I've got exactly the same score. I've gone Fulham 0, Palace 2. I'm just having a quick look now because this is a sort of game where I feel that my trusted bet could come in.
Shots, corners.
Shots and corners. If you fancy that for Palace, you get 16-1.
Not bad. Not bad. It's been a bit hit and miss, to be fair, recently, hasn't it? You had a period where you was nailing that week in, week out. It's been
yeah, I mean, the past couple that I put on, like the Chelsea Leeds game, was just stinking. But you'd be surprised by how many times it lands or goes very, very close. I did try it for West Ham versus Man U, and for West Ham to win corner shots.
Oh.
And it ended obviously 1-1. It was 0. It was even on corners and shots. It was 1 to United. Do you know what the odds were?
Go on.
150-1.
Wow.
The odds, you'd be surprised as well because even shots can go out the ground, can't they? And it gets counted as a shot. So you'd be surprised how close it goes.
Yeah. Well, this one has got to be one of those. We end up at Monday Night Football, Wolverhampton Wanderers hosting Manchester United. I'll go early. This is my banker of the week. Manchester United to win.
After the last time I picked United as a banker and it blew up in my face, I'm not touching them again. So even though they should win this game, I couldn't trust them.
Really? Against Wolves? I mean, Man United have had an upturn. They look much better. They've got some different options now. I think Mason Mount, Brian Abramovich, obviously, last night he took a late equaliser from an improved West Ham team. You don't see them going there and being able to steamroll of Wolves.
I do.
But I don't.
I just think like probability of Wolves as well. Like I know that they are the poorest team I've seen in a long while, and I've watched them shit in that league as well. They're that poor. United though, like 10 men. Everton had 10 men for about 75 minutes, and they couldn't make a dent. And I know we're comparing Everton with Wolves. I just can't trust United. They are so poor at times; it's unreal. But they should win this. I mean, I have gone Wolves 0, Manchester United 2.
I'm going 1-3. There needs to be an improvement from Wolves. I mean, again, we haven't got time now, but Rob Edwards and his decision-making process need to be discussed at some point in the future because I don't know what he's doing. I get the history, by the way. I get the history, but just nuts.
What do you think to my comment that they could break the points record? I don't. It's statistically the worst ever start to a Premier League campaign now from Wolves. I mean this about the points record. When I look at the fixtures and you see them come out, there's not many. I mean, I look at this and think, oh, it's probability. Like I expect Man U to win. There's not a game that I'm going to look at where I'm going to go, oh, this is a massive game. Like you look at Burnley. That's going to be one of the games that they target. That's one game that's 3 points. It takes them to 5. They're still miles off the points record. And also, I'd fancy Burnley.
Yeah.
Where did they get these points?
At the moment, I've got no idea. Genuinely no idea. I can see you being right.
That far off the points from relegation. By the time it gets to January, they could be 15, 17, 18 points off.
Yeah,
they're not attracting any players. If they are, they're going to be unproven players who are probably preparing for life in the Championship. I can't see where the points come from. I think they're going to break this record from Derby.
It's very possible. It'll be interesting to see what the odds of that are. But yeah, I definitely don't see him picking up any points on Monday night. And I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a long winter for Wolves and their fan base. And they are going to need to find some serious rabbits in a hat to get anywhere near it in the January transfer window. Because, like you say, who goes there? Where's the money? What's the point? Rob Edwards is a charismatic manager, but he would have to have some charm to get anybody to go there. The only hope they've got is that they use a super agent, as they have done in the past, to pull some strings that gets them a player that is there on a 6-month loan in the hope of putting him in a shop window to try and get him on. But again, they're more likely to lose their best player in Strand Larsen than they are to add to them, in my opinion.
That Strand Larsen one's a debate in itself. If you look at the comments on Twitter, where every time Wolves, they think he's a competition winner. They're like, how on earth didn't we accept 50 million? But we quite like him. We think he's got a bit about him, don't we? Like I think in a good team, he would look a decent player.
But again, it's about moments, isn't it? So the same for Man City with Savinho. Apparently Spurs are looking to go back to Savinho and the Man City fans are like literally going, would take 15 million, just get rid of this clown. Like genuinely they hate him. They think he's awful. Again, general, not everybody, but they're like, how do we turn down 65 million for this load of crap? So again, football and opinions is always out there, isn't it? But yeah, for me, I think Strand Larsen, Man United would be crying out for him.
Yeah, I'd have Savinho. By the way, I think he's probably a little bit better than Jordan Ayew. He'd be a little bit of an upgrade.
Yeah, but it costs you 60 million quid. Okay, so you haven't told me your banker of the week yet.
My banker week is Arsenal. And it's slightly risky, but I think it pretty much 9 to 10, so even money effectively. I think that's a great bet.
Yeah, I can't argue with you, mate. Fine. So, what is your £5 challenge this week?
So I've gone for a treble. I've gone for Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool, and it pays £38.15.
So very similar. However, I have added Brighton to the mix, which means it pays out £54.20. As always, people can reach out and abuse us, or at least argue with our points. Fran, where can they do that? Where can they find us?
So, to listen to episodes, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. I will try and get a TikTok clip up as well, something around Virgil van Dijk. Try and create some aggro, yeah, and see what people say. And on social media, we're on X, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, which is I'll try and get something up to create some mayhem.
Awesome, good stuff. As always, Fran, really enjoyed that. Thank you for your time, buddy. And hopefully we can schedule a bit more regular conversations as we go again next week.
Absolutely. Christmas is coming, so we might be a little bit busy. Midweek games, more episodes.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant Christmas shopping.
Yeah, no. Send everyone else out to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Bad. Well, as always, thank you for your time, mate. I look forward to speaking to you next week.